Hello everyone on YouTube. I'm gonna talk to you about a certain movie that came out in early in July, which is The Amazing Spider-Man. Now, being that the today's August and the summer is winding down to a close, we're getting like a couple of runner-ups and a remake or two, sequel and whatnot. So so I'm just gonna talk to you about one movie that I think was kind of a good idea for a reboot, but never really grasped the attention of Spider-Man fans, including myself. Now, before I begin, I just want to let you know that there are going to be some spoilers from The Amazing Spider-Man. If you haven't seen the movie, or I suggest you go into theaters, so that way I don't have to spoil anything for you. But if it's not in theaters yet, I do believe you have to wait until the DVD. But if you guys seen the movie, then you guys better sit back and watch for yourselves. Now, 10 years ago, Spider-Man was by far the most incredible franchise in the Marvel Universe. Movie-wise, anyways. All three movies that accommodating to a very good continuity mix-up of sequels. The first movie was basically an origin story combining the 60s style comics with modern day real world atmosphere. And since the movie was came out a few months after 9/11, it it was by the strongest attendance record imaginable, setting up a major stage. Action scenes were awesome, characters were intact. There was one bad idea with the Green Goblin little Power Ranger outfit, but on the other hand, it was pretty much a success in both Paramount and, well, not Paramount, Columbia Pictures and Marvel Studios. The second one was was even better than the first. It had all of the original characters. It had much better action sequences, from these infinite subway fights to the climactic warehouse, and and above all else, it was by far the most intriguing movie imaginable. Sure, there was one bit about the bit where Peter Parker loses his powers and he lives a normal everyday life without Spider-Man. Okay, that was a little watered down. But all in all, I say this was by far the biggest sequel they put together since X-Men 2. Sadly, with the sequel like Spider-Man 2, they had to get up a trilogy of plethora. And just like Star Wars and Indiana Jones and Godfather, they tend to ruin the franchise in any way possible. Case in point, Spider-Man 3. Now, indeed, it still had the original characters and the action was pretty impressive, but I think when Columbia or Sony got involved in creating the movie, I think they sort of how should I put this? Messed it up in many ways possible. The Venom character was nice, but it was pretty much a non-plot device. Putting Sandman, which is one of the most least likely characters, is a bit of a bitch slap. But they use him for a little bit of a mystery of the Uncle Ben murder case, which by far kind of ruins the whole Uncle Ben murder theme itself. And an unexpected tragedy of Harry Osborn was a bit of a kick in the ass, giving people second looks and saying, wait a second, that's how you want to end a Spider-Man movie? All in all, I say the third one lacked what the first and second one had. Now, when they were gonna start doing Spider-Man 4, the original director, who is Ang Lee, was somewhat skeptic. In fact, he was so scared about Spider-Man flopping deeper into the pit of no return that he decided to bail out. And and with the whole Avengers thing being put together in the year's end, the Sony and Paramount wanted to make sure that their that their Spider-Man franchise still has what it takes. So in order to make sure Spider-Man is still shining, their idea is to put together a quote-unquote reboot by adding new characters, putting up a new director, and brand new special effects. You know, all these years watching movies, I begin to feel a pattern that reboots don't tend to work in both good and bad ways. Examples include Batman, which after 4 movies and trying they revamped it with a much more darker and edgier field, and it worked out well. Hell, I'd say it was better than all 4 Spider-Man movies, not Spider-Man movies, Batman movies put together. And of course, when some people think that X-Men 3 and X-Men Origins Wolverine didn't grasp what people on X-Men wanted to see, they decided to do a little origin story of its own via 1960s with a new plethora of casts and unique powers. And that worked for them. It really worked for them. With its old James Bond-like style and mixed in with the classic comic book references. So yeah, it tend to work. But then there would be bad reboots that don't work as well. Horror genre, for example, when they try to revamp both Freddy, Jason, and Leatherface, all we get to see is just 3 guys just beating people up and killing them instead of having the old classical ways. Come to think of it, I'm afraid what would happen if they revamp either Chucky or Leprechaun. I mean, even though I don't watch those types of horror movies, I can understand how people feel when they watch it themselves. And then there's the fact that they're gonna reboot Transformers. Yes, that's right, they're rebooting Transformers after 3 movies. Of us thinking that they finally finished it, they're gonna reboot it. I say it might work, but they're gonna bring back Michael Bay for directing it, which I think they believe Michael Bay has the guts to even put together a movie. Well, but on the bright side, it's going to take place in space, and it'll be focused more on the robots. There won't be no human actors, no saluting the military while alienating the Autobots and Decepticons in particular, and above all else, the whole dumbed down, stupid love comedy bullshit they keep on shoving down our throats day in and day out. So it might be a good option. And just to let you know, they're gonna, and it's based on rumors. I don't know if it's official yet. Put up a Green Lantern movie. Part of which I say, seriously, I know Green Lantern kind of ruined the whole DC superhero genre, but maybe if this rebooted version works, I say I'll give it a go. I just hope people don't get nightmares after watching that movie like the last one. But I'm talking too much about reboots and retrospectives of Spider-Man movies when I have to stick to the new one. So, what do I think about the movie in particular? I say it's alright. The action scenes and the web slinging were paying homage to the 3 movies, and above all else, at least it does have an interesting field. But what they lack was 2 of the biggest things the movie needs: story and character. And believe me when I say it, the story and character kind of flop in and out. The story firsthand is a bit of a connect the dot plot reference, because it's mostly mystery, but they put together the Spider-Man origin story to begin with, very sloppily. It started out pretty well with Peter Parker's family, because technically we never even hear of Peter Parker's family in either the comics, the animated series, or even the movies. So, okay, I guess they have to start out with that. But but they go on ahead and putting together clues as to what happened to Parker's family to begin with. Oh, and it's all basic. I mean, Peter Parker's father is was partners with Dr. Connors in Oscorp, who was owned and operated by Norman Osborn. Yeah, that's right. Basic plot threads. And to make matters worse, the Spider-Man powers that Peter gave by accident just so happens to be come from Osborn. Hell, even Dr. Connors referred to that in the trailers, though he didn't talk about it in the movies in particular for some reason. I guess they did a little bit of editing here and there. And so, okay, basic plot threading left and right. I that's pretty much the basic on origin story 101. But the one thing you think these people messed up with is the whole moral of the movie, the great power of great responsibility, along with the murder of Uncle Ben. See, in the first movie, Uncle Ben was murdered, and Parker was able to get closure by stopping the criminal. Only on the Spider-Man 3rd, when he figured out he got the wrong guy went to fits of rage via venom. Yeah, I guess it kind of messed up there along the way. But still, when when the random dude murdered Ben Parker and Peter wants to get revenge, he couldn't find the murderer to begin with, because the only lead he has is the star that's on the wrist. And no matter how many times he tried, he couldn't even find him yet. I'm pretty sure that's just dumbed down on many occasions. Even the great power, great responsibility line Uncle Ben usually tell Peter was a bit worded differently, because we only hear responsibility. Yeah, that's right, just responsibility. No great power, no great responsibility, no Peter Parker growing up just to make sure that he becomes the ultimate superhero. Just responsibility. I look online about the director doing this film, and turns out it goes by the name of Mark Webb, who does great work directing music videos from great musical artists. But the only movies he done was just 500 Days of Summer, which is give me a second while I take a look into this. Which is somewhat of a quote unquote romantic comedy. Yeah, that's pretty much the whole basic. To make matters worse, so I don't know why you want to bring a director that did one movie to let him do a Spider-Man movie. At least get someone that knows about the comic books, just like what Marvel did with all the Avengers characters. At least be reasonable. At least be fortunate. So yeah, basically story watered down, just like other superhero movies they put together. But then there's the character or stories, and I say that it was half and half. A few of the characters were kind of one note, like the bully to Gwen Stacy's police officer and his officer. And then there are characters that they haven't even added. I mean, come on, J. Jonah Jameson wasn't in this movie. He was a comic relief in all three movies, and yet they don't put him in the fourth one. Well, maybe they're gonna add a sequel into the mix. But still, at least let us have a little comedy in our lives, okay? But they did do a good job with Gwen Stacy, though. Now I know it's a little sloppy. They wanna switch Mary J. Watson to Gwen Stacy as the love interest for Peter Parker. Okay, I can understand, but at least Gwen Stacy does a good job in her acting chops. Hell, she was more of a plot there, a love interest, and a genius. Genius. After all, she is the assistant of Dr. Connors, and she did help Peter put together a vaccine that reverses the lizard's effects. But hell, I think this Gwen Stacy was much more better than Spider-Man 3 version of Gwen Stacy, as in the development team saying, hey, why don't we just add Gwen Stacy just so Peter Parker have a love triangle between himself, of Mary Jane, and Gwen. It won't be much of a big deal, right? But of course, there are two characters that do tend to annoy some people. One being Peter Parker's character. I know Andrew Garfield's trying his best. I mean, he does a good role in movies such as the quote unquote social network. But still, that never grasps the attention of anyone else in the field. Okay, Tobey Maguire is old. I can understand that. And I know you need to look for a new character for your Spider-Man movie. I know Andrew Garfield is an Englishman, and trying to let him act out as an American does tend to feel awkward in some occasions. Above all else, Spider-Man character is a bit mixed up on many occasions. I mean, sure, he is a nerd, and he's more of a nerd when you see his inventions he makes. But then he transcends into different forms of characters. Sometimes he's lazy, sometimes he's a rebel, sometimes he's a skateboarder. It just tends to be very, very, very awkward for a Spider-Man movie. I'm pretty sure Tobey Maguire watches the movie and thinking, wait a second, this is how they want to picture Spider-Man as? Now I know what the producers for Spider-Man 4 were going with. They want to put up a little bit of a Twilight/Batman movie here. And even though it does work on paper, it doesn't work on the movie itself. I mean, think about it like this. Sure, we're looking at hot guys women want to drool at when ever since Twilight came out. And okay, the guy does have the looks for a Twilight star, but still, you really think that putting together a movie that's representing Twilight works? Hell, even the costume looks terrible. I mean, the Spider-Man costume in all three movies was original. This one was more. This was more of a modernized style. In modernized in major quotations. I never seen something that weird looking ever since Catwoman, or even Green Lantern with its CGI costume crap. Now, but I know that there are some, but the web shooters are cool. Now, I know that some people think that the nozzle flap, the web shooters, was a little bit terrible. I mean, terrible, and they would have preferred web spitting out of the wrists. But let me be honest to you people. Spider-Man had those little nozzle flap creations in the series. So yeah, I think that do tend to work and pay homage to the series itself. So it does work. So that does work on many occasions. Now, as far as the Lizard go, I gotta tell you, that was a terrible idea, adding him as a character, and a lot of people would agree with that. See, when you try to put a villain, you have to give him a character just to make sure people would feel for him. I mean, the three movies did a good job. The first Spider-Man, Norman Osborn, aka the Green Goblin, was trying his best, keeping his company afloat, and in order for him to do it, he turns into the Green Goblin and tries to save his company one way or the other. So that's basically desperation. Spider-Man 2 stick is when Dr. Octopus tried to create an invention to create a power of the sun, and it ultimately killed his wife and and created the monstrosity that he is, ultimately leading to creating a bigger, better sun creation invention. So that's basically death and retribution. And even though Spider-Man 3's Sandman was a bad choice, at least his character was pretty unique. What Sandman was trying to do was just getting money for his daughter who was sick, and even though he was the one that killed Ben Parker, he felt sorry for what he did. And when he tells Peter Parker at the end, it does bring up telling the truth. Tobey Maguire forgives him. So that's basically guilt and closure. The Green Lizard's character, on the other hand, was completely out of whack. At first, we thought he was a sad man that lost his arm and he wanted to get it back. Then when he turned to the Lizard, he went from becoming a so-called anti-hero, trying to stop the head of, not the head of Oscorp, but an associate, to go to the hospital, because he fears that the serum would be bad results for the people. But then suddenly he turns into a overpowered dictator and wants to turn everyone in the city into lizard men himself. Hell, even it proves evident that SWAT members were turning into a lizard army, which would have been cool, but they sort of cut that out. I swear, whoever was in charge of the planning and development team doesn't know anything about Spider-Man in general. I mean, the Green Lizard, he does have an interesting character base. Hell, he even has a family, a wife and child. Why didn't you add that into the movie in particular? Oh, wait, that's it. I'm pretty sure you guys have already done it, but you never even had any chance in making edits or whatnot. Hell, even the lizard genre, even though he looks mighty cool in the original look with the tattered lab coat, he almost looks like the 1998 Godzilla monstrosity. Seriously, you look at the scene and look at 1998's Godzilla, and you realize that they made a terrible assumption on character base creation. In the end, the Spider-Man movie was a bit lopsided on both sides. It tried to bring back the homage to the classic 3, but with adding new characters, a new director, and a new screenplay, new origin story, or new everything. They didn't give the audience what they wanted. Hell, at the end, they even put together an idea for a sequel. At the end of the movie, when O'Connors was in a jail for his crimes, a mysterious person comes in and asks if Parker knows about his family. I'm pretty sure people are confused on who this mystery person is, but if I would have to guess, I would say it's Norman Osborn / Green Goblin. I know he looks a little old to be one, but who knows? Maybe in the later sequel movie we might figure it out. Though I don't think that movie's not gonna get sequels like the way Green Lantern does. Oh sure, they put up a sequel for the video game tie-in, but I don't know if it's gonna be good or not. I might have to get it myself later on in the near future once the cost is lowered. Still, I feel like that Marvel made a terrible choice in giving Sony and Paramount a second chance at bringing their movie to Columbia Pictures. I'm pretty sure that Marvel made a terrible mistake in letting Sony and Paramount Pictures keep their Spider-Man toys just because, frankly, I think they're losing it in a big way. I'm pretty sure the moment Marvel watched it, they realized they made that terrible mistake in judgment, and I'm pretty sure sooner or later they're gonna have to cut ties with Sony and Columbia. Hell, if they do get it back to their own studio, and being that they have tie-ins with Disney, they might actually be able to be able to revamp the origin story again. Maybe get. I know it's gonna give us a new director and a new cast, sure, but still, at least on the bright side, we might get some people better. Hell, if you want to put up a Spider-Man movie, just get someone who understands Spider-Man. I know Tobey Maguire is old now, but maybe get a new character. Hell, I'm pretty sure they might watch Scott Pilgrim vs. World, because the guy that played Scott Pilgrim does a good job being a classless nerd and a classless shy nerd and a big time hero. And who knows? Maybe in the near future, when they put up Avengers 2, they might add Spider-Man to that movie. It's a big possibility. All in all, I say Spider-Man, with the lack of good character building, good cast, or good direction, yeah, I say it's okay. So that's pretty much it for my movie review. Stay tuned for more videos, and I'll see you around next time.